Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Silver Screen Dudes. My name's Nico Luro, and I am blessed, honored, and humbled to have returning to the channel. I think I have to call you my mate now at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
Michael Head.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me back on, mate. Pleasure to be here.
This is a surreal one because the first time we did an interview, even that was amazing, to be fair, because it was off the back of my review for Bermondsey Tales and then you reaching out to me. I remind you that the PR team actually went, he hasn't really got time. So it was very, very organic the way you and I first came to be together. Now it's got even stranger because, I mean, the video's out and I hope you liked it. I got the vibe from our Instagram exchange that it moved you in the right way. I mean, you've cast me in a movie now, so this is surreal, like interviewing you while being cast in one of your movies. So this is weirdly cathartic, mate.
Yeah, it was lovely. I said I've told this story before, but just in case any of the viewers haven't heard of it, I was having a bad day, and a couple of things. The industry is tough, and it is very difficult. And sadly, not everyone in it likes to play fairly. And I was having a particularly bad day. I was in my cousin's back garden, and I got a message from one of the producers going, "Have a read of this review." And we had quite a few good reviews, but obviously with your one being a video one, it just feels more. You get not only the vibe for what's being written down, and I'm very grateful for. Like I said, the reviews for Bermondsey were phenomenal. But because it was the enthusiasm from you, and it just really made my day. And when you hear things like that, it makes it worthwhile. Just to give people an idea, I'm quite lucky with the writing process. I can normally write things over the course of, last heist was 8 hours. That night I wrote the film, or the play that the film become. But, you have the writing process, then you've got to raise the money, which is the most difficult thing. Then you've got to prep it. You've got, some things can take 2-3 months to cast. Then you have to find the locations, deal with the contracts, deal with, absolutely everything. And it's hard work. And then a year later, your film finally comes out. And so to hear something like what you said, just absolutely, it filled me with joy. And it does make you go, yeah, this is worthwhile. And then obviously reaching out to you, and as you said, we're mates. We talk, we chat. I was very pleased to have you come down on set for the last film, which is coming out soon. And then through talking to you about, which I'm sure we'll go into in a minute, sort of your knowledge of film and your perspective of things, because I'm very, some people are thinly read. I'm thinly watched. I've not seen much. I don't really, and it's always a joke with my DOP, Sebastian Court. He sort of mention a reference. I'll be like, no, I haven't seen it. I haven't, it's ridiculous. And then, and that's how we sort of come to where we're at now.
What's beautiful about that, I have to say, because I remember when we were having our whiskey after the last movie, and there was some quite big name movies I threw at you. Like Jaws was the one that made me go, Jesus, like you haven't seen Jaws. You have seen Jurassic Park, of course, being a dinosaur fan, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I went to the cinema as a kid, and now my eldest one, Polly, who's 11, she loves them. So I've started watching them again. But I'm a bit stubborn, pig-headed, and if people say, oh, that film's going to be great, I tend not to watch it. So
very similar.
The Rockies, the Jaws. I was actually talking to Sawyer Spielberg, obviously Steven Spielberg's son. He was sadly he couldn't do it, but it was going to be in my Irish film that's coming out. And we was talking about Jaws, and obviously I knew the references, but it suddenly dawned on me that I haven't really seen. I've seen bits of the film, like if it's on at Christmas and that, but it dawned on me that I hadn't seen it. And then all the films that my DOP is incredibly artistic. He's brilliant, and he mentioned these films, and I haven't seen it. And every so often they throw an obvious, like, what was the one? He said, "Oh, this is very Juno." I ain't seen it. He went, "Oh, you're joking." I went, "No, So, which is good because then when I'm ripping stuff off, at least I don't know I'm doing it because I haven't seen it.
Well, exactly. It's not ripping off if you haven't seen the damn thing, right? It's that's just create. It just happens to be a
Yeah.
creative similarity with another movie. You can plead the fifth on that one.
Yeah, although I'm not going to lie, I obviously do love to rip films off as well. Lovingly borrow is the way I
Yeah.
do it, you know. Anyone about Tarantino and Guy Ritchie? No, not seen them, not ripped them off at all. Not tried to emulate them in any way, shape, or form.
Mate, you love what you love at the end of the day. And I always say, like, look, there's only ever been 7 stories according to theater and according to cinema. And it's just every movie, every play, every song even is just essentially a rehash of those 7 stories in some zany quasi way. So ultimately, if you've latched onto certain stories that you like, and that's your source for inspiration, I see that as exactly that, a source for inspiration. It's not, oh, he's blatantly ripping it off. It's far more nuanced than that.
Yeah, and I think you've got to take your heroes. You've got to. There's certain films that I've watched that when I've seen them, and it sounds a bit dramatic, but they are maybe life-changing moments, or they're certainly iconic moments. I was talking to 𝑺𝒊𝒍𝒗𝒆𝒓 the other day. It's 25 years of Lock, Stock. And I said to him,
Jesus, is it really?
Yeah, 25. And I said to him, I went, films are films. Lock, Stock was more than a film.
Yeah.
It was a movement. It was a feeling. It was something. If there was no Lock, Stock, there wouldn't have been so many other films. In Bruges is another one for me.
Oh, so good.
Oh, it's just brilliant. And obviously, Tarantino stuff, which I'm sure again we'll get onto. I've kind of ripped that off, lovingly, artistically borrowed, without even knowing it, because it was a film that I hadn't seen. And everyone went, "Oh, it's like that," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, actually now I've watched it. Here it is." So yeah, I think it's something that and it's not some people. Like I said, I've been blessed with some of the reviews that have come out. A lot of the reviews that have come out, sort of likening me to these people. But it's just a homage to, or I think it's unavoidable. If you watch a Guy Ritchie film or a Tarantino film and it leaves a mark, I don't think you can help but sort of take that with you and I don't know, just be moved.
You can't avoid it, and that just applies to anything. Like my best mate and I, we run that. Well, it's now a monthly, but up until this year in its 8th year, it was a weekly top 10 podcast. And mate, the amount of times that Guy Ritchie would come up in one of our lists just because we love it so much. I think Snatch is an all-timer. I know might have to be careful around certain people about whether you say Lock, Stock or Snatch. I personally love them both. Like, I've got all the time in the world for both of them.
Yeah.
There was just something about Snatch and that mental story that captured me. And it caught me at the right age, at the right time, and it stuck with me. I think the writing in Lock, Stock is probably sharper, but there was something about Snatch I loved.
Yeah. Again, I couldn't pick. It's
exactly. So, who's your favorite kid?
Yeah. Oh, that one easy. No, I'm joking. They're still up. Actually, they can hear me. My favourite kid is actually my mate's kid, who is far better than mine. And my youngest Livia's got an imaginary friend that I'm quite keen on. But yeah, it's a bit like Chinese or Indian. Well, it depends what I fancy that day, But they're both great films, and for me, Reservoir Dogs is another one. That for me is it's got to be as close to perfection in the sense as well. You can see that he didn't have the money that he maybe wanted. So he had to be smart. And my first film, The Last Heist, was, I'm not saying it's similar to Reservoir Dogs at all, but yeah, it was a play and it was 4 people in a room. Then it got turned into a film, and we didn't have a huge budget. There wasn't money to be thrown everywhere, so we had to be smart.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Reservoir Dogs is just, essentially it's 2 setups, isn't it, with a couple of cutaways.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Fun bit of movie trivia for you. Did you know Reservoir Dogs was a remake?
I didn't, but a good friend of mine told me the other day. So yeah, I remember you mentioning it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, we're talking about your love for films. That brings me actually quite nicely into the first question. By your own admission, this is something you said to me face to face over the whiskey after the last movie. Horror is not necessarily a genre that you gravitate towards, and I think by your own admission that you know a lot about. Why go down the horror route for this movie?
Yeah, so I mean, to go on horror, it's not. I've said to a few people, like, you're a snob. No, it's not that. I never was gripped by them as a kid, and them teenage years. And then, I mean, I've been with my wife 20 years now, and my wife literally can't stomach them. I mean,
That would help.
yeah, you know, when I first met her, we watched 𝑨𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕. It was on the telly, and it weren't. We was watching a horror. It was we was watching a De Niro film.
Yeah.
And I remember she climbed up my arm like a cat, and then the other one with Luther, which again ain't horror, but you know the bit where he comes out of the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was filming my film in Ireland, and I was away, I've never been away from my wife for more than, you know, sort of maybe 3 or 4 days in 20 years. But I was directing the film in Ireland for 7 weeks. And when I come back, she bought a new bed with the base underneath it. And what's that for? She went, storage. I went, well, it's not storage, is it? I went, because you can store stuff underneath anyway. And she wouldn't let me go to Ireland without having a bed that no one could hide under. So, you know, that's sort of her. Sorry, one sec. Can you? Oh, hang on.
I can pause if you need.
Sorry, that was. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, as you were, mate.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So that was just cold. Yeah. So she never. Yeah. She never liked horror. So it's something that we've never watched. And then I think you know on social media you get a feel for what other people say about horror, and there is a snobbery around it. So it's something that I've never really watched. I remember going with my godfather to see the remake or the re-release of The Exorcist.
Great film.
And well, I found it hilarious, and maybe that says something about me. I think I was about maybe 16, 17. And he was in the cinema, and Mao, his name was. He was probably in his late 40s, late teens. And he was like, this film petrified me. And I just laughed because I just found it hilarious, you know. And because in mind, I'm thinking, someone's let their kid do that, like the lights and stuff.
Yeah.
And when the head spins round, I don't know. It just, so it's not a genre that I know. It's not a genre that I gravitate to. That doesn't mean I don't respect it. It's just not something that I would be geared to. But I was lucky enough that I had 2 films released within 14 days. I had two London premieres.
Yeah.
And the team behind it, the media team behind it, got to know me. They also did The Last Heist. And so they was like, you know, you're doing a lot of films. You know, we like the stuff you're doing. And he just said off the cuff, you know, why wouldn't you do a horror? And I went, oh, it's not me. My films are my films. My style is my style. Anyone that's seen my films, that's my upbringing. You know, that's the world that I know. I went, I wouldn't do a horror. And then we spoke again, and he took me through the sort of figures that some of these horror films are turning over, and some of the profit and that. And I was like, yeah, where do I sign? So, and now we're here going to film. So yeah, you know, the market's there. There's no doubt about that. And you know, it's something that I've always. My theatre work was actually quite diverse. My film work, not so much. It all sorts of can fit in the same sort of box. So yeah, I just thought, give it a go. And I remember saying to the guy, and then when I come home and spoke to my wife and a few friends about it, I said, look, it can't be, not all horror films like this, but I mean, it can't be misogynistic. I don't want, you know, where the guy runs out and he grabs her top and her boobs are exposed, or, you know, sort of, you know, that sort of
80s horror. 80s horror. You know, let's call it what it is.
Yeah, you know, and again, if that's people's thing, and I've got no problem with that, but I don't want that. Even in my own films to date, if there's been a chance for nudity or a chance for a sexual scene, I always say no, and I try and find the comedy in the moment, like with Dan O'Reilly in Bermondsey Tales, where he takes the girl home, or the scene even with myself where I'm in a brothel. I didn't want to make it sexy. I didn't want to make it that sort of. I wanted to make it comedy. So I said, like, you know, that's my first thing with this. So I thought, how can I make something that's empowering females? How can I make something that isn't misogynistic, that isn't that sort of way? And then ironically, we come up with Jackie the Stripper, which on paper sounds exactly like it's going to be a typical 80s horror. And I kind of like that, because I think a lot of people, and a few people have said to me, well, Jackie the Stripper, you know, what sort of film are you making? And I believe the script is 100% not what you would expect.
I can co-sign that.
Yeah, so, you know, so that's sort of how it came about. And now I've actually, from writing something that I thought would be commercial, I've actually fallen in love with it. And so many people have read the script and come back to me and gone, Mike, it's your best work by a mile. I know 𝑨𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕, who she played my girlfriend in my first ever stage play, 16, 17 years ago. And she rang me up with Mike. She went, your best script by a mile. She went, I like 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕. She went, this absolutely slaughters that. It's far better. So yeah, I'm really proud of it, and hopefully it will be more than what people expect. And if it is, I'll be delighted with that.
I have a very strong feeling that this gives me a Kingsman and a Kick-Ass kind of marketing vibe, because especially Kick-Ass came out at a time. By the way, just so people know, I'm not spoiling anything about the movie. Nothing is going to be revealed about the movie, obviously. And this movie is nothing like Kick-Ass. I'm talking specifically about how I think people are going to perceive it. Kick-Ass came out at a weird time, because it was when they were beating the slapstick comedy into the ground. You know, we'd had the Austin Powers run, and then they got silly with it. You know, it was not another teen movie. Vampires suck. Spartan movie. Meet the Spartans. And it was like, oh, stop. And then Kick-Ass came out, and the marketing material made it look like, okay, now you're doing a slapstick version of the superhero genre. What the hell are you doing? And it turned out to be a really cool Matthew Vaughn movie that caught fire. I think Jackie the Stripper is going to be like this. You're going to see the poster, which, you know, is our background right now. People are going to go, huh? And then they're going to see it, and and I think it's going to spread. It's going to hit home with the horror cultists for sure. I think there's going to be a lot of people who appreciate counter-programming films. Like this week is a perfect instance. February 13th, Bridget Jones' Mad About a Boy releases. The day after Captain America Brave New World releases. Perfect release window, in my opinion. Two movies, completely different, and the cinemas are going to be full on both nights because of the different audiences. Jackie the Stripper is one of those beautiful movies which I believe is going to bridge the gap between here's some horror, crowd will come in. Here's comedy, crowd will come in. That word will spread, and then people are going to want to see, what the hell is this stripper movie about? And I nearly spoke more than I'm allowed to there. But yeah, it's I'm to go on to what you said about how excited you are and how you fall in love with it. That does come across in the messages you've been sending me. Like, your enthusiasm for this is contagious. It's great.
Yeah, it's just something that, you know, you sort of, I never know. Whenever I write something, you never know. And then it sort of, you know, people, the first thing I did was, well, right, it's Jackie the Stripper. It's a horror-ish, you know, grindhouse. Actually, that was the other one. Obviously, Sophie Rankin, who's in playing one of the leads in Jackie. She was in 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕, and I watched your review, and I was like, what is grindhouse? I had no idea. And then spoke to you about it. When you explained it, I was like, oh, okay, I like that. And that actually massively influenced the script, because I then took what you told me, watched Kill Bill, and went, oh, yeah, actually, that's what I'm writing here. I didn't even realize it. And that has massively influenced the changes to the script since.
Yep.
And
Kill
yeah,
Bill, arguably the biggest grindhouse film of all time. Sorry, please do continue.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? It's just phenomenal. And again, it's female empowerment. It's a revenge, you know, which is essentially that's what this is. This is a revenge female. I mean, I'm sort of billing it. I'm saying sort of Kill Bill meets Ocean's 11 in the sense of But you know, I gave it to a lot of actresses that I trust. You know, Jennifer Moxon being one, Sophie Rankin being another, Charlotte Kirk. Amber Doyne-Thorne, who I've never worked with, but I started talking to her and I've got to know her, and it's like the industry sort of moving in the same circles. And I remember saying to Rachel and to one of the potential, well, they are the producers now, but at the time it was a potential producer. And I said, look, let it come back to me. I went, if they like this script, it means it, because it's easy for me as a middle-aged white guy with two daughters who's happily married to go, well, I'm not sexist. I'm all for female empowerment, and then get it completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Innocently, but get it completely wrong. So I gave it to 6 or 7 female actresses that I trust their opinion, and they know me, and they all come back and went, yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. Like, it's phenomenal. We're in. Yeah. And so all of a sudden we started, we've had maybe nearly 20,000 people come forward for this now. And everyone that's read the script, only one person come back and they went, look, it's a great script, but it's not for me. I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. So that's what else gave me confidence in this, that it isn't, again, that misogynistic 80s horror, that sort of, especially as a male director as well, it's something that, you don't ever want to get the vibe wrong. So everything that sort of snowballed, and then now we're here. And we go to set in a few weeks, and we've got an absolutely phenomenal cast. And these people are committing to it. I've got my team back from my Irish film, my DOP, my first, the production design, the gaffer. They all signed back on, and they've signed back on because they believe in the project. So that gives me confidence as well, and gives, you know what I mean? It isn't me going, oh, actually, yeah, this could work. It's actually, no, a lot of people are backing this. Hopefully, we can't be wrong. And yourself, of course.
Mate, like, aside from purely selfish reasons of the fact that you've made a childhood dream of mine come true by casting me in a movie, I will repeat that until the cows come home, because it's true. Aside from purely self-motivated reasons, yeah, I'm really excited about this film. Like, I've not seen something like this for an awfully long time. That's above everything. That's what's got me so excited. There's this void that exists where these types of movies don't get made anymore. And it's so cool, not only to be part of it, but just as a fan to know that something like this is coming. But we talk about movies like this, and you've said it yourself. This is the biggest movie you've ever made, right? I mean, I think in terms of budget, in terms of the talent, you've got talent, I don't know, because you've worked with some megastars previously, but like, definitely the biggest movie you've made. What's been the hardest part about preparing for this shoot that happens?
Well, you'd have to ask my wife that, to be honest, because she's my line producer, and to be honest, she's the brains behind everything. I'll go and write a script, and then she has 17-hour days making it happen. But I think obviously budget is always an issue, and I think when I started writing this, I thought I was going to write a horror film. And it's not. It's, after speaking with you, it is a grindhouse action horror. So obviously it's the money that comes with that. The fighters, they've got to be trained fighters. That a stunt guy, Spencer, who's absolutely phenomenal. But even the safety side of it, to put 4 actors in a room and make magic happen is quite easy. Just get 4 good actors, a half decent script, and something will happen. Where when you've got, one of the scenes in this, you've got mass murder of 30, 40 people. All of a sudden it's like so yeah, that's obviously, that's the production side of it. On a financial, doing anything on the budget is hard in indie film. But from my point of view, it's 𝑨𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕 Tales, for example, is typical me. Very dialogue heavy, very character heavy. Get John Hannah, Alan Ford, Frank Harper, Vaz Blackwood, you name them. Charlie, David, the lot, Dapper, or Dan, I should say. It's very simple, and it's very safe for me, because I've always worked with actors. And I've always been about dialogue, and I've always been about character, and I don't care about anything else. Even in Bermondsey, the best reviews all went, "Yeah, the fighting was naff though," and I'm like, "Yeah, the fighting was naff. You know, we didn't have the time to shoot it properly. We didn't have the skilled fighters to shoot it properly, and it wasn't a concern for me because I didn't care. I even set it up that the fights were comedy fights." Because, someone went to me, "Oh, the fight in Bermondsey, I'm not sure I believe it." And what, where the guy hit the guy with his erect penis because he took a Viagra round the face and knocked it. I went, so what part of that didn't you buy? So it was a choice. Where with this, I'm very aware that I've got a I I can't rely on the dialogue. I can't rely on the brilliance of the actors. But the team that we've got are phenomenal. Not just the actors, but we've got David Chung's coming in to do like a one-on-one fight scene with Vanessa, who's going to be phenomenal. And then we've got Spencer, who's doing our other fight scenes and stunt coordination. So I've got a brilliant team. But that's been the biggest challenge for me, is not relying on my directors and writers' toolkit for this. It's gone out the window. And I've even been watching films that I would never, The Raid, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. John Wick, all these films that I would never normally watch. And I'm watching them again. I'm finding a new appreciation for these films. But it's broadening my palette, so to speak, broadening my
You
horizon.
like fight choreography? Here's one for you. And it's kind of what led into the Raid. Like, the Raid wouldn't exist without these movies. More mainstream, more mainstream than the other one I'm about to mention, but Ong Bak with Tony Jaa.
I've heard of that. I'll have to look that up. Yeah.
Came out about 20 years ago now, when Tony Jaa was just kind of rising to prominence. But if you want to see incredible fight choreography, I'll ping you the links afterwards.
Yeah, please do, and I can try and nick some of that.
Yeah. And the other one is Tom Yam Goong. Now, the director of Tom Yam Goong, 𝑦𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕, I think he's called. He, much like yourself, said his favorite movie is Goodfellas, right? In the sense that he's openly inspired by, and he says rip off. He wanted to do, that amazing famous shot in Goodfellas where they do that one take through the nightclub from the outside through the kitchen up to the. He said he wants to do something like that, but in a fight movie. Cool. And he's done a one shot in Tom Yam Goong that starts at the bottom of a huge staircase and follows going inside and outside the staircase up 4 flights of stairs, with Tony Jaa just kicking the shit out of anything and everyone that moves. I have to. I'll send you the scene as a YouTube clip. Just like the fight choreography in it is just like. So it's awesome to hear that you're doubling down on all these great action movies. But so what? It was the budget that was the hardest part to bring this movie together. Yeah,
the budget, and just comedy for me is my thing. Always been my thing, and I hope that's still in this script in abundance. But yeah, just the fact of instead of me using my tricks, going right, I'll have 4 people sit down, say some funny stuff, and something will happen, and the acting will be brilliant. I'm now sort of, as you said, it's a bit like the Goodfellas thing. That to me would be an easy scene to give it a go. Where it's saying, right, no, they're going to go through four flights of stairs, and it's going to be the action side of it. But I've tried to lean on that as well with the fight scenes, because someone said to me, "What's your fight style going to be in this?" And I said, "Well, look, we've got different characters, and everyone fights a different way. Everyone's got a different background. So we wanted to sort of bring." There's a character called Amazon, and she faces off with her mentor, and we want to try and make that very like the Raid, very close fighting, dynamic. The fight will be of the highest standard, and then there's a pub fight that we wanted to sort of make it a bit more of a brawl and a bit more Guy Ritchie in its nature, a bit more open, shall we say. So it's been really fun to sort of bring all these different fight styles to the table, and hopefully each one will bring a slightly different flavour that will appeal to a different audience in a different way.
Yeah, keep mixing it up. All right, let's talk about this cast then, because you do have an incredibly eclectic cast of amazing women. You know, Sophie Rankin, who I've interviewed on the channel, Charlotte Kirk, who I've interviewed. So shout out to Sophie, by the way, because her and I have been chatting a little bit back and forth on Instagram, and we co-sign what you're saying. The script is just, it's so good. But you said something to me, I think, very off the cuff when you started doing your casting announcements on your Instagram. What did you call it? Horn casting. So tell me about the casting process and how you came to pick the talent that you've picked.
Well, I mean, so it's twofold. So when I got approached when the guy said about doing horror, and he says, "Well, you don't have to do the talent that you do in another film. You know, if you're making a gangster film and you want it to do well, like Touchwood, 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕 has done, and Last Heist and that, you have to hit them marks. Terry Stone in Last Heist was perfect casting because he's got a fan base and he does what it says on the tin. Again, 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕's been really blessed that it's done really well, but it's got Frank Harper in it, Alan Ford and Vaz Blackwood. So you've got three of Guy Ritchie's main guys, brilliant. John Hannah brings a touch of class. David Shaw for the comedy. You know, it brought that sort of the audience to it, and then Maisie Smith and Charlie Clapham sort of, oh, okay, that brings a different sort of audience. Where with horror, you can get away with not having to cast profile actors, which for me has been brilliant. Because if this was a gangster film, I'd had to have changed 40% of my cast. Not on talent, not on ability, but on the distributors be saying, no, we need a name in there. That role there can't be played by them because they're brilliant, but they're not known for the genre, and we need to bring someone in. So that was liberating, and it's been fantastic to have. I mean, we've got a lot of unknowns in this. It's their, you know, some of them it's their first film, and it's nice that they come to me and I knew them, which I'll go into that in a minute. But normally I'd get a self-tape from them, and I'd have to ignore it because I know they're not going to get it. For example, with 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕, we had, I think, 16,000 people applied for it. 6,000 of them were for the role of Chloe, Maisie Smith. And I wanted Maisie Smith. She was perfect for it. We got Maisie Smith. Everyone else was off the table. And now one of the girls that's in this, Maddie, she's playing Diva. She auditioned for Chloe and was never ever going to get the part because she wasn't Maisie Smith, but she's brilliant. So it's nice now to be able to cast her. So that's the casting first will come about again. I always work with people I know. So Charlotte Kirk was an obvious one for me. She was brilliant in 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕. She's absolutely flying. And not only is she cool, slick and sexy and everything that you would need from a leading lady, she's also brilliant with comedy. And she's brilliant at the throwaway comedies. You know, the opening of Duchess.
Exactly. I was literally about to reference Duchess. Exactly.
Yeah, and the opening with a face, I mean, it's brilliantly done. But there's a few lines in this where she's not only is she the leading lady, she everything that she has to be. She's also going to now there's a great reference where they make they ask her a question and it's quite clearly that it's wrong, but the way that she comes back at them, I know she's going to nail that. So yeah, obviously Charlotte was a big deal for me. I was like, I really sort of pinned it on Charlotte. Then Sophie Rankin, obviously I've worked with her now 4 times, and to get the chance again to cast her in a lead for me was brilliant, because she's always deserved bigger roles in my films, but I've not been able to do it. So Sophie again with the comedy, you know, I almost wrote the part for her with her in mind.
It's so against grain of what she's done before. That's why I'm fascinated to see what she does with it.
Yeah, you see, well, I was an agent a lifetime ago, I think 12 years ago, and Sophie was on my books. And yeah, she's larger than life. She's very sweet. She's almost a Disney princess, you know, brought to life.
She's got the English Rose thing down to an absolute mastery.
Yeah, but she's also incredibly witty, incredibly funny, and that's why I mean she's playing Savage, and I just thought she's gonna nail the fact that and everything about her character, even though the start she's obviously set in a strip club, and she's like, "Do you want to dance? Well, hurry up there!" Like just the way she is with a guy, like she almost bullies him into it.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, it's something that she hasn't done before, but it's something that I've seen her do, and I've seen glimpses of it. So I'm excited about that. And then we've got Maddie, who was on Meet Across the River, which was the film that we just did together. So to bring her back again in the lead is fantastic. Young Rebecca as well. She was a day player on Meet Across the River, so to bring her back in a lead role. So and Vanessa again was another one. Vanessa auditioned for Bermondsey, sadly couldn't cast her, but to have her in a lead is fantastic. So we've got a real good mix of the girls, and they're all going to bring their own talents and personalities to it. And then obviously to get people like Kimberly that I'd just done the spin with to ask her back, and to have her accept it is absolutely brilliant. And then to get people like Jamie Lomas, who I've been a big fan of for years.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. There's a couple more that we're literally just in the mix of signing officially, so I can't say. And then it's just the rest of it is all people that have auditioned that I've known, always wanted to work with, always tried to sort of give a chance to, and not had the opportunity to. Where with this one, it's like, no, we can do that. We can bring these characters in, and they don't have to be famous for being. They can just be good at what they do. And I think a lot of people in this, you're not gonna, people go, oh, again, it's snobbery. Oh, they do that. They're a model. They're this. They're that. No, they're brilliant. They auditioned. They was fantastic, and they're gonna be fantastic in the film. So yeah, it's been so refreshing.
Yeah, and all these talented actors you've just mentioned, they are obviously varying experience and skill levels. How are you prepping for that as a director to manage the varying skill levels and stuff?
Well, I think it's twofold. Firstly, it's in the casting. 90% of acting is in the casting. If you're casting the right role, you're going to be good. John Travolta he's a phenomenal actor, but John Travolta in Pulp Fiction is what a genius he was for seeing that. Who's gonna Danny Zuko from Greece get playing a gangster? Go away, but he's brilliant. So I think the casting is the main thing, and then it's working with the actors. My job is to try and to work to be there for them. So we had one of the actors come round with me the other day, and we did an hour workshop on different things. Other actors, I remember when I was working with David Shaw on Bermondsey, we'd be on the phone for an hour talking about characters, talking about the real life to it, the character, what they're bringing to, that sort of thing, very in depth. Where other actors, like for instance, Dan O'Reilly and Charlie Clapham, you sort of let them bring their stuff to the table, and then you work with that. So there's not a process, and I think if a director has a process, they're wrong, because it's their ego. It's not about me. It's not about my ego. It's about, okay, I'm here for you if you want me. I'm always on the end of a phone. If you want to do a workshop, we do a workshop. If you want me to tell you what I think this character is, I can tell you. If you think that's going to help, I'm going to say, right, I think this character is that. That's how I see it being played. That's how I see it being done. But at the same time, if you want to tell me what you've got in mind, bring that to the table. 9 times out of 10 it will work, or 80% of it will work, and then the 20% comes from playing, from the. Sadly, we don't get the rehearsal process, which is what I loved about theatre, but we do get time to play, and that's we did that again on Bermondsey. There was 2 big scenes, David Shaw and Charlie Clapham at the end, and John Hannah and Charlotte Kirk, and halfway through filming, I'm right. I've got everything I need. You've brought to the table what I was expecting. You've absolutely nailed it, but I'm spending the producer's money, and we've got you for another couple of hours, so let's play. And the stuff that we played with, actually, a lot of that ended up in the film. So that's what I intend to do with this. Um, and I think it's wrong of me to say whether whether they're super experienced or whether they're new to it. It's wrong for me to have a set approach. It's about me being there for the actors, and I think a lot of directors get that wrong. Because I am an actor, and I've worked with some fantastic directors. Ray Burdiss, who BAFTA-winning director, Cos Greenhouse, who I think is fantastic. I've also worked with some really, really poxy ones. Um,
Mm.
so I've tried
No
to learn.
names.
Yeah, no, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll send them to you afterwards. Then one director actually ran the throat, pinned them up against the wall for what they did to one of my actors. That was back in the theatre days. But yeah, I think you can never make it about ego, and
Mm.
you've just got to be there for them in whatever capacity, and trust them. The reason that I've cast the people that I've cast is because I genuinely believe they're going to do the job well. So then to try and manipulate that or mold that or come with a one size fits all approach to directing or to getting that performance there, you're only setting yourself up to fail, in my opinion.
Mm. I love that, mate. Absolutely love that. So, okay, I've got three more questions for you. What are you most looking forward to about this shoot, and what are you most nervous about?
Yeah, my wife, she's in there. She said the end. No, I'm always it's always gonna be the same answer. Any production is about the creative process. You have the film you write, the film you film, and then the film you edit. And they're three different films. And if you end up with what you go in with, and you've failed. So what I'm looking forward to is working with the actors, seeing what they come up with, being very pleased with when they do what I expect them to do or how I see it happening, and then being pleasantly surprised when something don't play out the way that I see it, and it works. So it's always that. I used to write stuff and sit on my mum's kitchen table, and me wife would be reading one part, my mum would be reading it, my sister would be reading it, and that was as good as it got. So now to be doing it with this great crew and these great actors, what a blessing. So that's what I'm most pleased about and what I'm most looking forward to. Obviously, the worry is just letting people down. Um, that's what keeps me up at night. The producers have trusted me with their money, and they've worked very hard for it. Um, I don't want to let anyone down. The actors as well, they're trusting me with their performance. They're trusting me with, their names on it. And so I've got to, so that's always the worry. Um, and so I always try and keep a mix of the, the, the beauty and the joy of how blessed I am mixed with the worry and the fear. And I think that's actually a perfect mix. And if I ever lose either one, that's when I'll probably start getting things wrong. If I ever stop enjoying it, it won't be the beautiful process. And if I ever stop worrying, it means I've become some, egotistical. And some people, I love Scorsese, but his last few films, maybe they've been a touch
Oh,
too long.
mate, preach,
You know,
absolutely preach. I mean, I don't know if you saw the one where he had the missions go to Japan. Jesus, it was a snooze fest.
yeah.
Like, Silence was not a good film, and the follow up to that, The Irishman. I know it's got its legion of fans. I thought it was very self inflated.
Yeah, and I think it's you get to, and don't get me wrong, he's one of the all-time greats,
Oh
and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
more
yeah.
me even in criticising him is sort of like a Leeds player slagging off Maradona. They've got they've got as great as we are, but I think you can get to a point where you lose the fear, and if you lose the fear, you don't question it. The very first person I started writing with was a lady called Tilly Vosborough, and she's absolutely phenomenal. And I'd write stuff, and she'd read it, and she'd send it back to me like, "That's lazy. That's lazy. That why you made that choice? Why you made that? Why have you made that joke? That's an easy joke. It's a boring joke. You're going for low bearing fruit. Come back with better." And she'd question everything, and I always do that now. And so I think if ever you lose that fear, maybe you drop the ball a little bit. You know, I don't know, but that's yeah. So that's sort of the best and the worst of it, but both are a gift, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I love that, mate. I really love that. Okay, the last two I've got for you, they're emotional questions. So have at it. What are your big hopes for Jackie the Stripper?
Um, so it's twofold. Obviously, the films that I've made so far have done well, and I'm very proud of all of them. Uh, 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕 was another level for me. It's a lot of like one of the guys, Tomo, who's in this playing Butch. He said to me, we was at a film festival the other week in Soho, and he came to me. Everyone I know has seen 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕. I went, oh, he went, I'm saying like I'm doing it with the right. He went, they've all seen it and they all said it's absolutely brilliant. And even going out over Christmas, I've started to get recognised. And so, and it's not an ego thing. It means the word's getting out there. So the first thing I hope is I genuinely believe that the trouble with 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕 is gangster films do have a limited audience. They do have a ceiling. They don't travel well, although 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕 actually did really well in Russia, and the Russian version of it is like me dubbed in Russian. It's brilliant. It's worth watching. Far better than the English version. Um, but so that's the first thing is hopefully that this goes to another level, and not obviously for the finance because that's no less than the investors deserve and the producers, but also because it means the work's going to another level. So that's obviously the first hope that it because it's a different genre, it can break them barriers and it can, get seen by even more people and be loved. I was really lucky that most of the feedback, I'd say 95% of the feedback that I've heard and seen and reviews and that from 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕 was really, really positive, beyond positive. So if we can do that, I'll be delighted. And then the second part is I hope that people, and I've had it already. Oh, Jackie the Stripper, what, you're making a porn film? I've seen some of the women you've cast. Yeah, okay, you judge that. That's on you. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Watch the film and hopefully at the end of it go, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And normally with my films, 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕, people didn't see the plot coming. Obviously, Last Heist, there's a massive twist. I don't think anyone saw that coming as a stage play or a film. But with this, it isn't the twists as such. There are a few in there that I hope people don't see coming. But I think people are going to see this and expect nudity, expect gratuitous violence, which don't get me wrong, there's violence in it. Of course there is.
Some violence in there.
Yeah, I just thought that as I said it. But I think people are they're going to see the cast and go, oh yeah, they're going to load of pretty women, load of good-looking men, and when they see it, go, oh, actually no, it was cleverer than that. Oh, actually, it was a female empowerment thing. Oh, actually, it was, so that that's the other side of it. So they're my two hopes for it, and touch wood. You get a feeling that it's sort of everything's coming into place. The cast we're getting, the crew we've got. I can't believe we've assembled the same crew for my Irish film, because that's doing really well at the minute, and for them to commit to this as well is just absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, it's you just like a baby. You just hope that it's going to be the best version of itself that it can be.
I love that. Last one then. What's the big plan after Jackie the Stripper raps? What's next for Michaelhead?
Oh, well, I've got a few. I mean, this is a trilogy. So I've already got the sequel to this and the trilogy to this, and in my head, it kind of finishes where it starts. Obviously, the film opens with Jack the Ripper, and it's going to end. Well, I can't say too much, but it's going to end.
Yeah, say no more.
Yeah. So that's that. I've got obviously, hopefully this film does well. Hopefully, the investors and the producers are happy. Hopefully, we get to go again with Jackie 2 and Jackie 3. And I've always said that I would never make a sequel. I was actually offered money to make a sequel of one of my films. I went no. And to sort of carry on the side of that, the 𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕 franchise, which I would do in the sense of making it different stories, but I wouldn't do as in I wouldn't carry them characters on. So that's one side of it, and then I've got 𝒄𝒓𝒆𝒆𝒆, which is my baby. It was my favourite stage show that I ever did. It made my name as a writer. Got a West End transfer. Got phenomenal reviews, and that was when I realised I was a writer. Sounds a little bit arrogant, but that was when it come from I do plays to, oh no, the West End have picked this up, and people are, it was intelligent. It was what I wanted to do. So I'm hoping we've got some great names attached to 𝒄𝒓𝒆𝒆𝒆𝒆. So hopefully we can get that done.
And that's a theatre play that's being adapted to screen, or it's
Yeah,
going to be a theatre play?
No, it's going back. It's adapted to screen. So it's the story is it follows a character. He's in an abusive relationship. They're destructive to each other, and he falls in love with this waitress who isn't as glamorous as his girlfriend, and on paper she's everything that his girlfriend's not, in a bad way, because men are, the misogynistic side of men. And then you see the same week again. It's told over the course of a week. You see the same week again through different characters' eyes and through different perspectives, and everything sort of turns on its head. But it's an out and out comedy. I mean, my favourite quote for it was, "It's the in-betweeners for 30-somethings," and I was like, "Yeah,
brilliant!
I'll have that all day long."
Brilliant.
So that's my, another film that if I don't make that, my career will always be incomplete. And then the next one, which I don't know if I'm going to direct because it might be a bit too big for me, is The Greater Game, which is the story of footballers in World War One of Leyton Orient. So it was a stage play sponsored by the British Legion, the PFA, the Premier League, the FA. Everyone was behind it. And it's a true story. It's an amazing true story of two best friends who play for Leyton Orient. They sent all their men to war. And they sadly died within a short space of time of each other. So that's the next level, in terms of budget. And then that's why a few producers have spoke to me and said, "Are you directing that?" I went, "Probably not, because are you going to trust me with a £20 million budget? I would have, I fully understand if you didn't." So they're the things that we've got in the pipeline. So Jackie is a trilogy, 𝒄𝒓𝒆𝒆𝒆𝒆𝒆𝒆, which is a personal thing for me. I've got to do it. And I want to be in it as well. And I'm getting too old now. So I'm getting at the age where if we don't make it soon, I'm going to have to recast me, which I'll cry my eyes out. And then The Greater Game is a story. The Greater Game is the greatest story that hasn't been told yet. And it just
sounds great.
It needs to be William Jonas and Richard McFadden. And you've got George Scott, you've got all of them, the whole team. But especially the friendship between them two, it needs to be. It was told as a stage play, but it needs to be seen worldwide by millions. I think it'll be the biggest film since King's Speech. It's got that sort of vibe. And it's a big. I know that's a big call, but it's.
Man, I love the fact that you backed the story that much. That's awesome.
Yeah. I remember when I was a guy wrote. I would see the story on the news, Sky Sports News, and I see it was Leyton Orient. I rung the club up, and they went, "Oh, we'll get the guy who wrote the book to ring you." And I remember putting the phone down. He ain't calling me. 15 minutes later, I got a phone call. Next week, I'm at the game, and he gave me the book, and we spoke about it afterwards. And I said that I went, "This is an amazing story." And once I read the book, I went back to him and "This is the greatest story that's not yet been told."
Yeah.
And if it was Arsenal or Chelsea or Man United, it would have been a film years ago.
Of course. Elitism of football, of course.
Yeah, and I get that, but Leyton Orient. The flip side of that is no one dislikes Leyton Orient because you can't, So it is a special story, and it's far bigger than me, and it's far bigger than anything that I want to do. But I just want to be involved in that. In some capacity to make sure that, and even little things. I played a guy called Herbert Jumbo Reason, and at the end of one of the shows, this guy come up to me, big fella, and he went, "Hello, Michael." He went, "You played my granddad." I went, "You're joking?" Yeah, he went, "I'm Mark Reason." Things like that. You reuniting the families on the pitch and that. So yeah, that's what we've got in the pipeline. So hopefully it'll be a busy couple of years. You never know your luck,
guys. There's your pre-production scoops, insight into little tidbits of what you can expect from Jackie the Stripper, what's gone into this movie, and what indeed is going into this movie, and what you can expect next from Michaelhead. For my part, and I'm not just saying this because I'm in the damn thing, get excited for this film. It really, really, really is going to be one of those movies that you haven't, the genre and stylings are something you haven't seen for a very long time. It completely breaks the mold of 21st century cinema in the best possible way. Put it on your radar, look out for it, and get excited for it. But Michael, to you, mate, as always, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Hope it's not the last time. And yeah.
No. Thank you for having me, mate. And we'll speak well before then, but I'll see you on set in a couple of weeks.
Hey, look forward to it. What a great note to end on. Guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Also available on Spotify if you want to listen as an audio only format. But from me and Michael, good night. We'll see you very soon. Long love cinema.